Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen.
I've been doing this podcast since September of 2012, and boy, are my lips tired.
This is your daily dose of happy. We are so happy you decided to join us today.
Now, if like me and my guest, Izzy Fortin today, you are in the northern hemisphere, you are in the midst of summer. But if you're in the southern hemisphere, you're in the midst of winter. Either way, it's about to change. I don't care which side you're on. It's about to shift in the other direction. So this is yet another opportunity to decide, am I going to embrace it or am I going to get upset about it? Pretty straightforward, really. It's amazing how often this kind of thing trips us up. That's why I mentioned it. But Izzy, first of all, thank you for joining me on the program today.
Very welcome.
I mean, this is something I like to do a lot, just make things really, really simple because they're so complex. And I don't care how simple I make it, it becomes actually more complex, the more I say it, which is kind of, well, that's par for the course, right? That's the nature of what we're dealing with here, the kind of topics that we deal with, because we're dealing with life. Life's complex. All kinds of crazy stuff happens.
That's true. Actually, on my wall, I made a poster. And it says the answer is always simple. But the reason why I keep that on my wall and in my office is because humans are complex. And because we are a complex creature, we have a tendency of complicating life, but life isn't complicating. It's just we are complex, and there's nothing more complex than a human, right? So, yeah.
I'm thinking about that. Is there anything as complex as I don't think there is. No, I mean, there's some supercomputers that might make you think twice, but no, I think the human's more complex.
Yeah. And I think that AI is going to prove that too.
Well, let me ask you this one, because this is, as I'm asking the question, I'll also be giving away my opinion. I think AI is going to get to the point where it becomes conscious. I can't say we're anywhere near that yet, but I think it's going to get to that point. When it gets to that point, what happens to the complexity algorithm?
Wow, that's a good question. I hope, actually I'm going to answer that in two different categories. I hope I am not going to see it. I really hope I am not going to see it, because if there are 8 billion of us and it's already complicated. So if we add AI as being connected and all that good stuff, and imagine just how much more complicated it's going to get. So I wish I'm not going to live long enough to see it. And, right now we're not just getting started, but it's starting to be mainstream, right? So I think that right now, AI is not going to replace humans, but the humans who use AI will replace the humans that don't use it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Well, AI can never replace a human, because the purpose of a human is not to be a machine. And if machines become sentient, if they become conscious, then their purpose is not going to be a human any more than the human's purpose is to be a computer. I mean,
that's very true.
It's kind of like saying, well, what if we all became rabbits? Then are all our purposes are going to become rabbits? No, that's not the way life works.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Well, that's, you're right. You're absolutely right.
What we're talking about here is really diversity of life. I mean, and that's the nature of the universe. The universe is constantly expanding and creating new and adding and just adding and adding and adding. That just means that there's going to be more diversity. That's all.
True. And let's hope. And I still don't necessarily want to be a witness to it all. I find, it's already, we make it complicated enough. Let's not add machines to being connected to themselves and having thoughts and emotions thoughts they already have, but emotions and stuff. Yeah, no, it's okay. I'll pass.
Okay, then we'll back away from that one. Let's go into something that I'm sure you're more familiar with. Let's talk about Izzy Fortin and how she got to be a mindset coach, because this is something that more and more people are interested in doing. We have lots of people here on the show who pursue various kinds of careers, often with either a coaching component or a therapeutic component or something like that attached to the idea of mindset. But how did it work out for Izzy Fortin?
Well, Izzy Fortin had a rough beginning in life. My mom passed, I was 5.
Ooh.
And, yeah, she was only 36 when she died of lung cancer, and she died rather rapidly. I mean, between the time of the diagnosis and her death was only 9 months. So, well, rightfully so, I became a very sad child, and the sad child became an angry teenager, and anger just builds bitterness. So I was a very, very bitter and morose adult up until I outlived her. So when I turned 37 and a few months old, at that point, Walt, I was so tired of being angry, and I was so tired of 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 being a victim of my own life, right? Because that's how I felt at the time. But I had a really big aha moment. I woke up one morning and I looked at myself in the mirror, and instinctively I looked at myself in the eyes, and we usually don't do that. We look at our hair, and do I have spinach in my teeth? And oh no, there's a new wrinkle on my face because I'm aging, but we don't look at ourselves in the eyes. And instinctively, that's what I did that morning. And I said out loud, I can't live like this anymore. So I have two choices. I either kill myself today, or I choose a better way to live. And that was the key for me, was the word choose, because it is a choice. So I just went to therapy, and I had gone to therapy before, but I just tried a new approach and tried many different things. And I did NPL, and I did, NLP in English, sorry. And I did hypnosis, and I did a whole bunch of stuff. And I was already a part-time massage therapist when I did that. And throughout my massage career, eventually about 10 years in, which was about the same time that event, that aha moment that I had. And a client of mine, while she was paying and taking her next appointment, she said, Isabel, I don't come to see you for the massages. I come to see you because when I leave your house, I always have a new perspective on whatever I'm going through. And I thought, well, maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
So I went back to school. I'll be the 85-year-old grandma that's going to be in university full time. And so I went back to school, and I did study NLP, sorry. And I did, at this hour, it's 4:00 for me. And at
Where are you located? Wow.
I'm in Montreal, Canada.
You're in Montreal. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and at this hour, my brain is like, oh, what? You want me to speak English? But yeah, and I studied emotional freedom tapping and a whole bunch of different things. And eventually I just decided to make the plunge into being a mindset coach full time.
Okay.
And massages was getting difficult for my body.
Oh, was it? Okay. And I'm gathering that your native tongue is French, but since you're Canadian, you're French and English, but English kind of takes like second place, so that's why it's a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah. Well, especially when the more tired I am, the more difficult it is, as I've just proven.
Hey, the way I look at it is you're speaking French and English a whole lot better than I ever did. I can handle the English part. The French part, I took years and years of it in school. I still can't speak it. So, I mean, come on. You're doing great.
I think it's easier for French to learn English than it is for English to learn French.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because, the feminine and the masculine, so why is a chair feminine and a table,
I never knew that one, actually. I never figured that part out.
Yeah. So, and you can have this two different words for the same item, but one word is going to be feminine and the other word is going to be masculine, but you're talking about the same item. So yeah, I think that's why it's easier to just learn English when you speak French.
I like what you said earlier when you talked about how you looked into your own eyes, because you're right. We don't tend to do that. And it's an interesting variation on something that I've been fascinated by for quite some time, which is what happens when two people look into each other's eyes at the same time. I don't know if you've ever experimented with that. Sean Aker, who's one of the leading positive psychologists, talks about how if you have two people who do that and one tries to maintain a straight face while the other person just throws as much love into their look as they possibly can, the other person breaks into a smile in about 10 to 20 seconds. They just can't help themselves because of the power of that gaze. But what happens when you're looking into your own eyes in a mirror? Well, everything that you're doing as you're looking into your own eyes is magnified.
Yes.
And on that day that you were talking about, your eyes magnified in a way they hadn't magnified before. I'm guessing that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, and I've been doing it every morning since.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm 51 now, so that's 14 years now. And yeah, I've been doing that every single morning. It's part of my morning routine. Brush my teeth, brush my hair, wash my face, whatever. And whatever I am done with the morning hygiene routine, because then there's meditation and exercise and all that good stuff. But once I'm done with the hygiene part, I looked at myself in the eyes and I do 5 really deep breaths while looking, and I stare at myself in the eyes, and on every exhale, I say something nice to myself in the present tense.
What do you see when you see yourself in the eyes?
For the first time on that day, when I was 37, for the first time, I saw the broken kid that I was, because that's what I was. Even though my body was 37, I was still this broken little Isabel that mom just died. And that's why the womb was so fresh, right? Because it hadn't healed. I had not provided the right ingredient for it to heal. But for me, at the time, like, I'm not mad at myself anymore. I'm just happy that I actually saw and chose a better way, because for me, it was much easier to deal with anger than it was to deal with sadness. So when we create patterns as humans, we tend to be hard on the patterns that we've created. It's like, yes. Oh yeah, but I always do that to myself, and I'm this and I'm that and I'm this and I'm that. Well, first of all, what good does that do? And the second is, when you did create that pattern, it was because it was the best thing for you at the time. So on that day, I just recognized the 5-year-old broken-hearted little girl that part of me still was. And I just embraced her and said, you know what? I'm going to take care of you. So now I don't need to take care of the little Isabel because she's grown up. But at that time, there was like 2 different Isabel. So I recognized her. But it wasn't until she was healed that I could become who I am now. It would have been impossible.
That makes total sense. So when you look in the mirror now, what do you see now?
I see the grown-ass woman I am.
Yeah, there we go.
I see a woman that's fearless, and I am fearless. I see a woman that is unapologetically who she is. And it's not about ego. It really isn't, because if somebody doesn't like me, that's okay. There are 8 billion people on this planet. I don't need to be the cup of tea for everyone. I have to be comfortable with me. And I have to go out of my day. At the end of the day, I ask myself, what did I do today that I am proud of myself for doing? And if I can succeed at having at least one thing I'm proud of, that was a great day. And then I get to do it all over again if I'm lucky.
That's really interesting that you chose to discover what it is you were proud of. I mean, there are lots of different things you could do. There are many similar modalities, similar practices people do. I've engaged myself in finding things that I'm appreciative of, for instance. But finding things that you're proud of, that's a really interesting choice. How did you come to that one?
I did a 21-day breakthrough challenge, and a long time ago. And the speaker said, find one word. Find your word. What is the word that you want to be? Like at the end of the day, you want to be recognized for that, and make that word a verb. And I chose proud because I find that, and it goes with the law of attraction too, because I find that we do a lot of things during one day, right? So if I do at least one thing that I am proud of myself for doing, then I know that I am working for for me in the future, for that person that I'm going to be in 5 days, 17 years. It doesn't matter anything in between, who I am going to be tomorrow.
Right.
Because we do change. Thank God for that. We do change.
Yeah.
So if I only go after the instant gratification, and if I drag my feet and I eat as many potato chips as I want, and then what I do is I'm punishing my future self, because she's going to have to deal with what I've created. So if at least there's one thing during the day that I am actually proud of, then I know that I've worked for her. And I try to do as many things for her as I can. And that's how I get to where I am.
That makes total sense. Isn't it interesting how instant gratification is almost never gratifying?
It never is. It never
Well,
is.
I was being polite about it by saying almost, but maybe it's never. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm a little bit more radical.
But it's true, though. I mean, we do these things, and I've done them as much as anybody else. That instant gratification thing, just to kind of mask some pain or cover some frustration or something like that. It never makes anything better.
No. And we punish ourselves for it. We punish ourselves by doing it, and we punish ourselves for having done it. Like we do it in 2 tenths. Right? If you eat, I love potato chips. You have no idea how much. If there was an addiction to potato chips, I'd be the first one in line for the AC or APC. I don't know how we would call it, but the AA of potato chips. But I feel good when it's in my mouth. I feel crappy that I did it, and I feel crappy because I did it. Does that make sense?
Total sense. Oh yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I didn't know if it was my English or if it was.
Hey, you're not the only one. I routinely, not routinely, I shouldn't say that. There are times when I'm not sure where to take a conversation. It doesn't happen very often because most of the time, just based on what my guest or what co-hosts, because I usually have co-hosts, are saying, usually just leads to something automatically. But every once in a while, I get to a point where I just can't think of anything. And the first time that I actually tried to kind of, wing it off of that was shortly after we'd had a number of different conversations with different people about tapping into your intuition, channeling, things like that. And I was convinced I'd never been able to do it. I never would be able to do it. But on that particular day, nothing was coming to mind. So I said, well, let's try it now because I don't know what else to do. We're live. We got to do something, So I opened my mouth, and about 2 seconds later, it seemed like 20, but about 2 seconds later, something came out, and I really wasn't sure what I said. Kind of like what, you were just saying now. Did that make any sense? It was the same feeling. Did it make any sense? I actually had to play back the episode to find out if it made sense. And it actually made good sense. That was the part that really scared me. It actually was quite coherent. But when it came out, I was thinking, what did I just say?
But that's the thing about intuition, though, because we feel that intuition is going to be like loud and obnoxious. And it's like, you should turn right here. Well, no, that's not what intuition is. Intuition whispers. It's this little nagging voice. And don't blink, man, because it's going to go away. Of course, if you don't listen to it, or if you've become very good at taming that voice, then you're going to live outside your boots. But it whispers. It's just a little thingamajig, right? It's, that's why we need the meditation. Call it prayer, call it meditation. Sometimes I call it shut up.
I love it. That's great.
Shut up. Stay. You know, I am not overly religious. I do call the higher power God just because I was raised Catholic and it's just easier to call this entity God than anything else. But there's a verse, and don't ask me which one it is because I really am not good with my remembering, Bible study, but there is a verse that says, "Be still and trust that I am God." Mm. What does that mean? It means shut the hell up. That's what it means. It means when you don't know what to do, sit and wait. And it will come to you, because when you do quiet down and when you're successful at quieting your mind and connecting to the essence, then you can hear the whisper.
That's true. That's true. And in my case, with that first experiment, I wasn't really sure if I heard the whisper because I wasn't hearing it. Consciously, it just sounded like,
Yep. That's what it sounds like. It's like, hey, what did I just say?
just curious, was that English? I just asking. You know?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's gibberish as long as you understood.
But that was the point. I didn't understand. Fortunately, the person I was talking to understood. Otherwise, I was in real trouble. But I mean,
that's what intuition does.
It does. It's disconcerting, but it's true.
And the thing is the more you're capable of tapping into that voice, the louder it will become.
Yes. Yes.
But we were, you know, in my case, good little Catholics. And it's like, well, you know, yeah, but that person, I used to be like that when I was a teenager. It's like, if the vibe was bad with someone, I would just avoid them completely. And then everybody and myself, my own thoughts would, you know, but give her a chance. She didn't do anything and blah, blah, blah. And you're not being a good Christian. I would say that to myself. You're not being a good Christian. You're this and you're that. And then time would prove me right. That the first little bad vibe was my intuition telling me not that this person is a bad person, but that this person is just not my tribe. Now, bye-bye. Because I don't have to, like I said earlier, I don't have to be everybody's cup of tea, but you know what? They don't have to be my taste either.
Right, yeah. Actually, you're not really human if you haven't alienated somebody somewhere along the way.
Amen for that, brother.
I mean, seriously. Yes. Any human being who is loved by everybody, I'm starting to doubt their humanity, to be perfectly honest.
Well, they're not interesting anyway.
Well, at the very least.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's no mistake that humans love drama.
Yeah.
No mistake at all.
Yeah, well, no, that's true. I mean, how many millions did Jerry Springer make on this show?
Oh, not even Jerry Springer. Just about every single movie ever made. I mean, come on.
True.
It's just
true. Yeah, it's just that Jerry Springer was real trash. Come on.
Yeah, you know. Some people loved him, though.
Of course.
Some people loved him, you know.
Of course. And I'm not bashing Jerry Springer. I'm really not. It's just, it was just actually to make the point that humans, we like the drama.
Mm-hmm. We do. Sometimes often to our detriment.
Yeah. Most of the time.
But that's actually one of the most interesting phenomena, though, because I was telling you before we got started, you know, all the who's and whys and what fors about why I started the podcast. And of course, one of the things that I learned over time was the value of all this craziness that we go through. The value of things that we don't like and what we learn from them and so forth. And it's one of those things. There's a line from the Apple TV series Ted Lasso that I really enjoy. The line says, "The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off."
Yeah, I've posted that on social media before.
Did you? Okay, yeah. It's a great line. It says it beautifully.
Of course. Yeah, of course. It will set you free, but yeah, it's going to piss you off first.
And in the process of pissing you off, you're basically being challenged to appreciate something you really do not want to appreciate.
I think that the reason is because we get attached to how we get to what we want. I think that what messes up humans the most is not their actual life, but their image of what life should be. I was like that. I should be married by this age, and I should have kids, and I should own my house by now. And then, we play the comparison game, never knowing what the others are actually going through and what looks perfect for them. And then we concentrate on the fact that we haven't achieved what we thought we should have. And so we're disappointed instead of just accepting what is there.
Yeah.
And we messes ourselves up with that.
We do. Well, that's part of being human. We should all over the place. I mean, we're shooters.
Yeah. I call it suffering from the coulda, shoulda, wouldas.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are two big diseases that I talk about with my clients. The first one is the coulda, shoulda, woulda. And the second big disease that nobody has ever heard of before is called the opti rectus syndrome. So the opti rectus syndrome is when your optic nerve is connected to your rectum and all you see is shit. That's the opti rectus syndrome.
Okay, well named, I might say.
Thank you. That was me. That was all me. And now you can tell what kind of coach I am.
Yeah, yeah.
Guys, if you want someone very, very serious who's never going to laugh, please hire someone else.
Just hire somebody else, yes. I'm sure you have recommendations you can make, but yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, just refer those away. Well, I love the approach because, I mean, like you saw on the intro, the subtitle of the program is Your Daily Dose of Happy. And the reason I subtitled it that way, I didn't do that from the beginning. It was about 4 or 5 years in that I did that. But the reason I did that was I'd reached a sort of an inflection point where, after the first 400 or 500 episodes of Law of Attraction, you've pretty much covered it. He's like, what else are you going to say about this thing? Right? And so but I wanted to justify keeping it going. You asked how long, I've been doing it. And I was telling you before we got going, it's going to be 11 years in September. And I was enjoying it so much. It was a surprise. I didn't realize I was going to enjoy doing the podcast so much. So my first reason got resolved and my new reason became that I loved it so much. And I was trying to figure out, well, all right, if I'm going to take this beyond LOA, whatever beyond is, what am I going to focus on? And somehow it must have been a download. That's all I can think. But somehow I got the idea, well, everybody just needs to get happier because if they get happier, they get more of what they want. So it would be Your Daily Dose of Happy. That's where that came from. What it has evolved to over time is a recognition that my favorite guests, my favorite co-hosts are the ones who can laugh, who can make jokes, who can make fun, who just don't absolutely refuse to take any of it too seriously. So you fit right in. That's my long-winded way of saying welcome.
Okay, I got that. Thank you. If you can't, I don't know, if you can't laugh at yourself. The first time I went live on LinkedIn, I had 1,100 people signed up for my event. The first time.
Wow.
And 1,100 people signed up for my event, and my mic was on mute.
That's embarrassing.
And finally, and then I got a text message from somebody that actually, personally knows me, and she said, unmute your goddamn mic. And I said, oh, okay. So I pressed unmute, and I was on mute for about a minute and a half, but in virtual life, that's like a year, right?
Oh, yeah. Right.
So, and when I unmute, there was 73 people in the room waiting for me to get that I was muted. And I thought, wow. I burst out laughing. I mean, come on. It's a little bit ridiculous, but nobody died. I didn't get
Nope.
a cancer diagnosis. Like it's not the end of the world.
No.
You just say, hey, listen, I'm a dumbass and I forgot to unmute.
The same thing happened here with the first episode of LOA Today. I've told this story many times. The listeners have heard it, but I'll tell you because it's such a fun story. The first episode I did with my wife, my now ex-wife, and we did the first 20 minutes before we finally realized that the record button had not been pushed. So if you can find the episode, when you play the first episode, it starts off with, now we're live for the first time here on LOA Today.
And that's fine. That doesn't matter. Nobody died.
Nobody died. Nope.
Exactly. There's an expression in French that says, if you're not worth a laugh, you're not worth anything.
Ooh. I like that.
Yeah.
That's very good. It's a good way to maintain balance too.
Of course. It's not that serious. Nobody comes out of it alive, so, you might as well enjoy the ride.
Seriously, don't take it seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's so funny because as soon as I turned 37, well, it wasn't instantly, but one of the things that, like, I was 100% convinced I was going to die at 36, right? So, which makes no sense, but
well, it's understandable. Your mom passed away, so, there's an obvious thing there.
Yeah, but, sure. My dad is 84. And
right.
Yeah. So, but, it's very common when children lose a parent or both parents at a certain age, they think they're going to live up to that age and that's it. So, when I turned 37, I thought, okay, so I get a bonus.
Okay. That's a good way
So
to look at it.
I'm living in the bonus zone. So whatever, every year that I get to celebrate a birthday, I go, wow, I was granted 365 other days. That's wonderful. Yeah. So let's see how long that's going to last. And then I start the next year.
That's a really cool way to do appreciation, by the way.
Oh, gratitude is a big thing for me. I do a daily gratitude practice twice a day. Actually, I start my day like that. And in the morning, it's journaling. Is that how we say it? Journaling.
That is correct. Journaling.
So
yes.
I do write what I'm grateful for, but more precisely why I am grateful for it, because that's how you connect to the feeling of gratitude. And if you want your vibration to elevate and for the universe to actually hear it, it needs, it needs the vibration to be higher. So it's through the feelings. So I do that in the morning, and at night while I'm going to bed, I just put both my hands on my heart, and then I need 3 things that happen during the day that I'm grateful for. And I gotta tell you, some days the last one is, thank God this day's over. But hey, I am truly grateful that this day is over. Yeah, gratitude it's a science. It's been proven by science. I don't know why people don't do it anymore.
Well, some people do it.
True.
We don't do it as often as we would like to do. Those of us who are like you, who have a daily practice, they're going to be doing it pretty regularly. I actually haven't done it on a regular basis lately. It's been more irregular. And there's an interesting piece to that, because even though I do it irregularly, I think I'm actually getting more knowledge out of it. By knowledge, I mean, I get, every time that I am expressing some form of gratitude or appreciation, I get a sort of a boost in vibration, like you were talking about. And every time that I don't get it. I don't get that boost in vibration. And the more that I get, the evidence that follows each of those, either boost or non-boost, keeps reinforcing for me the value of getting the boost versus the, shall we call it, inverse value of not getting the boost.
I understand what you mean. Yeah, I understand what you mean. I can't not do it. I can't. The day that I don't, like, for whatever reason, just because life happens, and I don't actually have time to sit down in the morning and have my morning journaling session, if we want to call it that. For the rest of the day, I just like this. And at the end of the day, I'll go, oh, man, I forgot to, or I didn't have time to. And I feel it in my energy. The energy is a little lower. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I mean, because I guess it's kind of my way of, not introducing, because it's already here. The contrast, the polarity of the world is already a part of everything that we do. It kind of reminds me of it. It brings it front and center within my own life, that I'm actually creating a contrast. I'm creating a polarity depending on whether or not I pursue my practices or not. Now, quite honestly, there are many times where I don't pursue the practice and I experience the result of it and I get pissed off. I mean, I do. Mm-hmm. I get pissed. Well, first of all, why does life have to be so difficult? It has to wait for me each time. I have to actually raise vibration each time. Wait a minute, that's not fair.
Yeah, but because you're creating it. And the other
right,
thing,
exactly.
The other thing too, Walt, is we do full circle all the time throughout our lives, because let's face it, we'd get bored. I mean, if it was always beautiful outside and you were always happy and your finances were always in order and you were always in love with whomever you're spending your life with and everything was all hunky dory, at the end of a summer you'd go, is it gonna freaking rain already? Because we get bored. So we need the circle of things happening, and it makes us feel alive. And back to, because, some people like the drama. Well, we all at different levels. We all like the drama because it makes us feel alive.
It does.
So it's, yeah.
But most of us would prefer to see somebody else's drama. Most of us don't really want to do in our lives.
Jerry Springer.
Jerry Springer.
I'm sure there are still DVDs of his stuff on sale.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes. Just go to YouTube. You'll find them. It's there.
Exactly. You don't have to go far to find stuff.
No. But you also don't have to go to Jerry Springer. I mean, literally, almost any kind of entertainment you can find is going to have drama in it. I mean, that's just part of what makes it entertaining. If it didn't have the drama in it, it doesn't have much in the way of followers because it's not dramatic. That's the whole point.
I came across Love is Blind on Netflix. Oh, goodness gracious. And I mean the part that they're actually getting to know each other, that was kind of cute, but everything that happens after, all the way to either we're going to get married or we're not going to get married. Talk about drama, man. I was laughing so hard. And I really don't mean to say that I'm laughing at their misfortune, but I find it on how I find the fact they're creating drama so much entertaining.
Sure. Well, that's why we like drama.
Yeah.
That's precisely why we like it. Yeah. We enjoy it. I mean, it's so much more fun to watch somebody else have to suffer the thing,
That's right. That's why we laugh when people fall down.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And what does that say about us? I'm just kind of curious, but what does that say about us?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would have to ask a psychologist about that one. I don't know. I'm not going to venture a guess on this one. I'm a coach, but I'm not a psychologist.
Oh, good grief. But it does go to prove that the whole thing about drama, I mean, we make fun of it and we laugh about it and so forth, but it does play a very important role in our lives. It's rather essential, really.
Yeah.
And obviously the big advantage that the drama gives us is it gives us that contrast. It gives us that sense of, okay, here's these things that I don't like. Now that I know what I don't like, what do I like? Now that I know what's not important to me, what's important to me?
Yes, indeed. It's so funny. One of my exes once said to me, yeah, but you're equipped for life to deal with drama. And I kind of looked at him thinking, what the hell are you talking about? And he is still a very, very dear friend of mine. And he was 40 when his mom passed away, and she had been sick for a couple of years, and he was very much still a mama's boy. So it was a very, very difficult loss for him. But I didn't understand what he meant at the time. And a few months after she passed, we went for coffee, and I said, whatever did you mean? He says, well, when the biggest thing, or most likely the biggest thing that will ever happen to you happens when you're 5. Nothing is bad after that. So meaning since mom died when I was 5 years old, then everything after that would be small potatoes.
Interesting viewpoint.
And he did have a point. He did. That's true, because getting a flat tire is not dramatic in my life. It really is not. I just changed the goddamn thing, or I called CAA, and that's the end of that, or AAA in the US. But, and for some people, getting a flat tire is the end of the world. For me, it isn't. But it was still a double-edged sword.
Sure.
So yes, there are certain things that people find dramatic that I laugh at, but there was still a drag to becoming who I am. I had to fight to become who I am, and to decide that I deserved being happy. Because I remember, like, I was I'm still the youngest of 3, but like my brother didn't react that way. My sister didn't react that way. My dad remarried, and I remember feeling resentment towards them because how dare they carry on with their lives? How dare they be happy? What, they didn't love mom? But no, it was just they were most likely because of age. My sister was 11 and my brother was 9. But most likely because of that, they were better equipped to know that even if they were deeply affected, there's nothing they could do. They would just, their priority was to live their lives because they knew how short it could be. Me, I didn't do that. Me, I kind of unconsciously decided that it was my duty to live her life. So I did what I thought she would do, but I couldn't. That wasn't my life. And we were very different people. So yeah, but it's still, I'm coming full circle to what I said earlier. It's what screws us up in life is what we think it should be. Instead of accepting what is.
Yeah. One of the things that often, how do I want to describe it? It captures my attention and again pisses me off a little bit is that because I do it as much as anybody else. That's the part that pisses me off. But we have this tendency to say something about somebody else. And in the process of saying that something about somebody else, we're really projecting on them. You know, so I might be saying, well, you're so judgmental. And what I really mean is I'm feeling very judgmental right now.
Or I'm feeling judged right now.
Or either one. It could be, well, even if you're feeling judged, you're still being judgmental. I mean, it's like part of it. I mean, it's just, part of the whole thing. The whole projection thing, when I first heard that concept from a psychologist, and I don't remember which psychologist I read about it, but when I first heard that concept, I thought to myself, well, yeah, what makes that such a special concept? Doesn't everybody do that? Because that's what it seemed like. Everybody does that all the time. And then I came to realize, well, yeah, everybody does do it all the time. That's why it's a psychological concept. Oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, and we tend to take other people's lives personally.
Yeah.
I don't drink alcohol. I was never an alcoholic. I didn't do the 12-step. I didn't have a drinking problem. I did drink a lot when I was in the military, but that comes with the job. Or I did at the time when I joined in 1989, but I don't drink alcohol. How many times do you think I have to reiterate the fact that I don't want a glass of wine? Because people don't want to drink alone. So if there's just the two of us at the dinner table at the restaurant, are you sure you're not going to have a glass of wine? They're very insistent. Yeah, but would you like beer instead? No, I don't drink alcohol. And people feel, and I'm generalizing, but most of the time people feel like I am refusing or I'm pushing them away. It's not about them. It's about me. I don't drink alcohol. It's me. I'm just telling you where the boundary is. So, but we do that on every single level of our lives, right? Somebody says something and we're offended. It's just, yeah, but that goes along, that goes against my values. Okay, but these are your values. I'm talking about my life.
Yeah.
I don't have to live my life by your values. I have to live my life by my values. And mine, I'm allowed to differ from yours. So there's how am I going to say this in English? Because I really don't know.
Well, make it up as you go along. That's what I usually do.
Les quatre accords Toltec, the Toltecs for, I don't know. I'm going to look it up and send it to you so you can actually write it in the show notes.
Okay.
But it's a book about the four, codes like to live by. And the first one is so that your speech is true, so that what you choose to share with the world, make it the truth. And the second is stop taking other people's lives personally. Because it's not about you. It's about them. They're talking about them. And we all do it.
Sure.
We all do it. The salesperson is talking about his product instead of listening to you as to what you need. And the people that are very good at business have become very good at listening to what they want from him or her.
Sure.
Because it's not about them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. I was thinking about, I don't watch a lot of television, but lately I've watched a little bit more than I normally do. And picked up a couple of series on, I forget what, I think Apple TV and I don't know, Amazon Prime, something. I don't remember where I saw stuff, but I watched a couple of these series, and I'm always most interested in character development. In other words, how real are the characters? Do I believe that they are real human beings? You know, can I suspend that disbelief as they talk about it? And if I can't suspend it, then I move on to the next series because I'm just not interested. But if they have me enough where I believe in the characters, then I start paying attention to the interaction. And I don't remember which series it was, but there was one series I watched a few episodes of. It was amazing to me. Literally every exchange between the characters was about this character projecting his stuff on that character and that character projecting their stuff back on this character over and over. I mean, every single word. Well, that's true, but I mean, this is a case study, right? I had it condensed down to a little TV series.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, I'm going to use that line.
Okay, good.
I won't even give you credit for it.
Steal it away. That's fine.
Thank you. At least I told you. Yeah, but in some level, we all do that.
Yeah.
It's so funny because recently I have a business coach. I have many coaches, but I have a business coach. And I was telling her, okay, but I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do this and I want to do this. And we're in Zoom and she's looking at me and she's being very quiet. And then she's like 20 years my junior, and which is okay. I chose her. So obviously sure. I trusted her, and she's waiting for me to be done. And when I was done, I kind of looked at her and she said, and you think you decide what the hell your business is about? She said, no, they get to tell you what they want from you. And if they walk in the store, it's not a store, as you know, but if we take the image, if they walk in the store and you have a really great display of sneakers and they kind of tilt their heads and go, yes, but there's a potato on the third shelf and I want the potato. Well, guess what? From now on, you're freaking selling potatoes. And I thought, she's right. I had made it about me. I had made it all about me because, well, I want to do this and I want to talk to these people and I want to do that and I want to. And if you use that just as a guideline, as if I am passionate about talking to people midlife and trying to help them, or not trying, but help them reconnect to themselves so they can be the best version of themselves as possible. Well, if you do events or podcasts like you're doing right now, and in your audio room, the only people that are there and that are staying from one event to the next are men in their 20s, change the narrative because you're officially now talking to men in their 20s.
That's right.
because they get to choose who they deal with.
Yeah.
So, and I've had to do that because that was my avatar. Women between 40 and 60, new, empty nesters and all that good stuff. And I'd created an event and I'd looked in the rooms, and numbers don't lie. And I looked in the stats after the events, and there was as many men as there were women. And they were as engaged, and they would ask as many questions. So it's like, okay, so I'm not only talking to women because men are relating to what I'm saying. So we get to have a guideline of what kind of service we want to be to the world, but who needs that service? Yeah, that's none of our business.
It's interesting you describe that, because again, this is something I have reiterated many times here on the program. So listeners, if you're bored, sorry, just, tune in about 3 minutes down the line. But, I've said this many times. I do this podcast for me. And it's amazing to me that I still have listeners, but I do. They seem to show up, and it's like, wow, they want to keep listening. This is great. I'm enjoying this, but I always do it because this is what is
interesting
important
to you.
To me. Yeah. This is what I like. This is what I do. And if nobody listened, I'd be okay with that. I mean, people do call and then not call. They do listen. So that's a great thing. So what goes along with that for me is when I hear from a listener, and that's always fun. It's great when you get an email or a text or something from a listener. When I hear from a listener, it has an amazing effect on me. The amazing effect is, well, first of all, they were listening. Like, oh my God. Oh, what did I say? So that's the first part. The second part is, wow, they're resonating to the same thing I resonate to. And all of a sudden I love them.
Because you are drawing your crowd.
Exactly. That's my people.
It's your tribe.
My tribe, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now,
so of course, I wouldn't be selling potatoes, but the image is the people they chose you. This is a podcast, one out of how many millions in the world?
Some 10 million or so. Yeah.
Exactly. So even though you offered something that resonated with you, they still chose you.
Right.
So
and it's been fun to get to know them, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, not just because they're my tribe, but because I learn a lot about myself by learning about them. It's
so funny because yesterday I can't remember who it is. Please forgive me, and somebody said, it was on YouTube. If you want to get to know yourself really quickly, start a podcast.
Very true.
And he even added, I don't even care if you don't put it online. Just go back and listen to it. Just sit in front of a mic and talk for an hour and listen to yourself afterwards. And you're going to find out shit you didn't know before.
That's very accurate. Yeah.
It's so funny because my partner not too long ago caught me listening to a podcast that I had given, like I was a guest. And he said, "You're listening to your own stuff?" Like, meaning you're a guest and I said, "Oh yeah." I do it a couple of times each podcast I'm a guest.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Because I need to know, sometimes I sound like a perfect idiot, which today is one of those days. And
no,
I'm okay. And I'm okay with that, but I need to know, what am I saying about myself? And there are some really great interviews that people are going to ask me a question. I'm going to go, holy crap, hang on. I have to think about that one. The other day, I'm a mindset coach. The other day, a podcast host asked me, if you had to explain to a class of third graders what you do for a living, how would you describe it? I didn't have the answer. How do you explain mindset to third graders?
Are you asking me?
No.
Oh, okay.
But you can answer. I would love to hear
your
answer.
I'm happy to answer. I mean, it just depends on what you're asking. That's all. Okay.
Go ahead.
It's really, from my perspective, it's very simple. What do you give your attention to? That's what you're getting more of. Your mindset is what you're paying attention to.
But for me, that question, first of all, it threw me for a loop. But second of all, it made me not question, but redefine my purpose. Because it got me to tap into, okay, but why am I a mindset coach?
Now there's a question.
Why do I want to help people with their mindset? And had I not re-listened to that podcast, I would have never got that job done for myself.
Did you come up with an answer?
On the spot, I think that what I answered was, I helped your parents be happier.
Because
when you connect, because my avatar was at the time, avatar was between 40 and 60. So I help your parents be happier.
Okay.
That's not how I would answer it.
How would you answer it now?
I think that I would say I help them be a better friend to themselves.
Ooh, that's good. I like that.
Because third graders know what a friend is.
Right.
Everything else is a vague concept.
Mm-hmm. Very, very good. You know, as so often happens, we get into these conversations. Sometimes we go down rabbit holes. We go off on tangents. We have all these fun. And then I look at the clock and, oh my God, the hour's gone. What happened?
I have no idea. I can talk you an earful, Walt.
The thing that amazes me is that that's practically every episode.
That's wonderful.
I've done almost 2,000 episodes. You would think at some point I would make the connection like, oh yeah, the time's going to run out real soon. Get to the point. You know?
No, that means you're present in the moment, and that's wonderful. Yeah. That's what it means. That's what I'm getting from this.
It's exactly what I get from it. I mean, we were talking about that earlier. I get this amazing energy boost just by talking to wonderful people like you. So thank you for the energy boost. Thank you for the daily dose of happy. That's really cool.
Hey, anytime. You can invite me any day of the week.
You got to give us a little information though before we let you go here. Because you told us earlier, you know, we can check out your website and so forth. Is that the best way to find you? I mean, if somebody wants to talk to you, maybe they're considering, you know, trying to engage you as a coach. What's the best way to reach out to you?
The two best ways is either on my website, which is izzyfortin.com, or on LinkedIn, which is Isabel Fortin. You check this chick with a big smile and the gray hair, and that would be me.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. And then the last thing I like to do every time that I have a guest, because you're just like every other guest in the sense that you give, you love to give, and it comes through. It has been, you know, radiantly true throughout this entire interview. So it's there in a big way. Givers create a lot of content. You appear on podcasts, maybe you write articles, maybe you write books. I know you're in the middle of writing a book. There are lots of different ways that people who give reach out to other people, and those ways get consumed by a lot of people that they've never met and they never see and they never will see and they never will meet, and we kind of skip over that. So I like to kind of throw a monkey wrench into that and say, on behalf of those people you've never met and you've never seen, thank you for what you've been doing, because you're making a difference in this world.
Thank you. That's very sweet. I'm very blessed though, because people are very appreciative and show their appreciation in my life, and I like that. It's the fuel, you know, to keep me encouraged and to know that I'm on the right path.
Isn't it nice that it's reciprocal? You give to them and they give back to you.
Yeah. I'm surrounded by so many great people. It's not even funny.
Well, it is funny. That's why we laugh at it, but.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm very blessed. I really am blessed.
That's fabulous. Well, we've been blessed very much by having you here on the show. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And that includes all the little foibles that you're going to listen to later on and say, well, I wish I'd done that differently. No, they were great. Every single one of them.
No, today I really struggled with the English, as I even, had a hard time saying that sentence.
But the fact is, that's what makes these kinds. I usually go through. There are a lot of people who do podcasts, and then they either will do it themselves or they're hiring an editor to get rid of all the little glitches. And I used to do that until I finally realized I was editing all the life out of the show.
Yeah.
Interesting thing happened, by the way. this was like around year 3 or 4 that I recognized this. And I didn't have much of a following at that point. The moment that I changed that within like a 3 or 4 month period, just took off.
You ever listen to the podcast Smartless?
I don't know that one.
Okay, so Smartless is started with the pandemic. It's the 3 actors. It's Sean Hayes, Jason Bateman, and Will Arnett. And
Okay.
they are 3 friends in life, and they decided to meet once a week, and one of the 3 invites a guest that the other 2 don't know about, and then they talk shit for about an hour.
Okay.
And they started it just because they missed each other because it was the pandemic and they couldn't see each other. They just sold for $80 million.
Whoa.
You know, it's just through 3 friends shooting the shit. It really is. And you'll get 2 of them telling one to fuck off and vice versa. And you hear everybody laugh because you know that they truly love each other. And they say that to one another at every episode, and how much they are truly there for one another. And in 3 years, they made $80 million just by being themselves and by being humans. And
there's great incentive right there just to be human.
And
right
you know,
there.
I vulnerability, Walt, is the first thing we want to see in others and the last thing we want to show.
That's what makes it so challenging.
Exactly.
It's also what makes it so fun.
But when we show it, when we show our human side and we're making mistakes and we laugh at ourselves, people show up because they can identify.
That's true. That's exactly right. Well, thank you for showing up. I really do appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. And all I can say is keep showing up, because every time you're showing up, I'm sure it's making a huge difference.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that.
And thank you to our podcast listeners everywhere. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.